Upgrade to new, modern devices with Windows 10 and save on essential electronics, all with free shipping on everything and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call 877-ASK-DELL or visit Dell.com/small business deals.
For your Gulf Coast Sports Minute, I'm JP. UWF head football coach Pete Shinnick announced earlier this month that Caleb Nobles has received additional duties, being named the co-offensive coordinator. Nobles has been the quarterback's coach for the past 3 seasons, and he was UWF's first starting quarterback during the inaugural season in 2016. Having played in our system for 1 year and now coached for the last 3 years, Caleb understands our offenses as well as anyone, said Coach Shinnick. Nobles has mentored UWF signal callers each of the last 3 years, including National Freshman of the Year Austin Reed in 2019. In our recruiting spotlight this week, Simeon Price from West Florida Tech. Perhaps the most versatile recruit around, Price has a 3-star rating and is classified as a top 100 player in the nation and number 60 overall in Florida. Price has 17 offers, which include Oklahoma, Virginia, and Mississippi State, to name a few. Covering Price through high school football, let me just tell you, this kid can do it all. Playing wide out, running back, and you may even catch him throwing a pass, and make no mistake, he's not just a one-trick pony, he's also a track and field monster as well. That's your Gulf Coast Sports Minute. I'm JP.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Gathering at Pensacola Beach is a wonderful family experience. If you thought of having a family celebration or an amazing beach wedding, there's a very special home now available, Casa de Luna. Casa de Luna is spacious with room for large families. It has 9 bedrooms and 8 bathrooms. Casa de Luna is a large private home with a refreshing pool and water views. The pool can be heated for swimming in colder months. Casa de Luna is unique in that the main living area is directly on sand level. It's very convenient. Bedrooms are both on the sand level and upstairs. One bathroom is handicap friendly and another has a new jacuzzi. And there's a large gaming porch with pool table, foosball, hockey, ping pong, and Xbox One. Bicycles are provided. Bring your family to Casa de Luna on Pensacola Beach.
For information, call Casa de Luna owner Tim at 791-6400. That's 791-6400. 791-6400.
There's only one natural ingredient that could instantly shift your mood, help you focus, lower stress, and boost your self-confidence. It's available everywhere, works immediately, is affordable, and can change the quality of your life forever. It's called playing music.
Side effects include restless foot syndrome, spontaneous undulation, and can be highly contagious. If a smile doesn't last for more than 4 hours, consult your nearest music store.
Just play. Your prescription to a better life. Brought to you by the NAM Foundation.
For your ESPN Pensacola Ridiculous Facts, I'm JP. The NCAA required college football players to study during halftime until 1925. Now that's putting the student back in student athlete. The Houston Rockets did not discover until the 14th game of the 1984-85 NBA season that their home arena rims were set at 9 feet 7 inches. And golf balls were originally made out of dried cow eyeballs. Ugh. Remember that next time you're teeing off on the front nine. That's your ESPN Pensacola Ridiculous Facts. I'm JP.
Introducing Beehive Homes of Gulf Breeze, an all-inclusive facility with incredible amenities and a BS and RN on staff for healthcare management. With the best staff to resident ratio in the Panhandle, a new additional home opening in June with a beautiful and secure nature walk between the residents, and all of the great activities, transportation, and wonderful features makes them stand out above the rest. Beehive Homes of Gulf Breeze on Gulf Breeze Parkway and beehivehomes.com. Call 850-688-9199. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Welcome in to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Tuesday afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well, staying safe. Hope everybody had a great Memorial Day as well. Look, hope you continue to practice social distancing no matter if you were the family, cooking out in the backyard, whatever it may be. Just remember what Memorial Day was about. It was great. It's just great to see people out there. It's great to see things getting back to normal. Things were opening up, of course. The beaches, everything looked pretty good. Looked like the beaches were packed, but everybody was doing their part, staying socially distant during that. But listen, as we always start our show, we'll continue to start our show this way. I want to thank our first responders and healthcare workers. Listen, like I said, I say this every time, but it means a lot to me. A personal touch here, just because I have friends and family that are, well, both of these, and to hear the stories that they have are crazy enough, but to hear the support that they're given by you, the listener out there, the community out there, we thank you so much for the support that you give them, but we want to thank them so much for what they do each and every day, putting themselves out there on our own front line right here in our community. I think that's important. Look, it's not the prettiest job sometimes. It's tough. It's things that, we talked about military yesterday. These folks, look, we love them. We thank them so much because they are literally helping us get through this pandemic. Look, much like you, the essential worker, we want to send a shout out to you. Look, going through all this, things are starting to open up, but I want us to not forget what we went through. I make that very clear, and I mean that on a positive note, meaning the people that were open, the people that, whether you were a grocery store worker, truck driver, maybe you were a restaurant that was open through this, whatever you were, you know who you are, we know who you are. We thank you so much for that because you stayed out there. You made our lives as normal as possible in a time right now when, well, normal is just not a word that we use, but we're getting back to some normalcy. But regardless, we just want to thank you so much for what you do. And we, again, want to thank our sponsors as well. Not only, of course, allowing us to talk football with you right here each and every weekday, but just because of what you mean to our community. And the last thing I'll say is our community has done such a great job as well. So, I know, Coach, we have so much to get to today, but how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing well. I certainly echo your sentiments there, and we want to really, really thank all those people that you mentioned, and I'll let it go with that.
Absolutely. And, Coach, before we get started, of course, we got plenty to talk about. Want to make a note for everybody. Look, Paul Feinbaum will join us this Thursday, of course, 12:15, but you are not going to want to miss it. You can check it out on our ESPN Pensacola Facebook page there. It's been posted to let you know. Share it with everybody. Let them know because, Coach, Paul Feinbaum, we listen to him every day here. Of course, he's on ESPN Pensacola starting at 2 o'clock, and he has got a lot of wisdom. It's going to be an interesting phone call, especially with everything that's going on right now.
Oh, yeah, and he's such an interesting guy. He's full of information and stays in touch with people all through the college football arena. I mean, from every angle you can imagine, and always has up-to-date little tidbits that we all want to hear about, and we're certainly going to ask him about that. Now, he's been a little bit in the early stages. I'm going to call it cautious. I won't call it pessimistic, but I'll call it maybe even a little overly cautious early on. I think he's changing that now, as are many people. But anyway, this should be an interesting call on Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to be great to hear from him. And, Coach, I want to go ahead and get started here. We have so much to get to in so little time. Starting off, of course, NFL Executive Vice President of Football Operations Troy Vincent said in an interview, of course, with NBC Sports. And, we talked about this. We agree. I think this is obvious. But just the fact that they came out and admitted this here is a great step forward. Now, he acknowledged the league failed miserably in its implementation of pass interference replay reviews last season, and as such failure would serve as a cautionary tale for the NFL not to rush rule changes in the future. Now, this was coming, of course, they were talking about the Sky Judge, which is adding another official up in the booth there to help things out. We saw that with the XFL. But, Coach, I think this is obvious. I think it is a great move. But the bigger thing in this that I love about this is he said it will serve as a cautionary tale for the NFL not to rush rule changes in the future. We've seen a lot of great things in the NFL moving forward. But the pass interference rule was one that, they obviously pumped the brakes on. He goes on to talk about that people were talking more about the officiating in a ball game than they were the football game in some instances, and that cannot happen in NFL. So, Coach, I believe I know your answer here, but Troy Vincent coming out, I think it's a great step moving forward for them.
Yeah, I think it was a knee-jerk reaction by the NFL based on what was truly an egregious call over in the Superdome over in New Orleans against the Saints. And there's no doubt that they did not make a call that should have been made there. But you don't upend the whole apple cart because of one bad incident there. And it just, they didn't really know how to call it. I'll be honest with you. I don't think they ever knew how to call it. That is any crew out there, much less the inconsistency when they did attempt to call it. And even when they tried to reverse, as coaches had to do, is throw the yellow flag many times because the crews weren't going to call it. They just didn't want to call it. So when they throw the flag, they didn't want to reverse it, and that tended to be an irritant. So it was just a total mess from the beginning. They did the right thing by getting rid of it.
Yeah, I agree, and I like the fact that they came out and he admitted, look, we failed miserably. Just nipping it right there and being done with it. So, Coach, I do want to continue on our NFL here. Look, Andrew Cuomo, the New York governor, of course, he has said, look, we want our pro teams back. You can come on back. Of course, Sunday they were allowed to work on coming back. Now, this is interesting. This is pro teams now. This is not college. There are a few colleges up there in that neck of the woods, but nonetheless, he talks about this. And the reason I bring this up, Coach, is because, of course, Yahoo Sports came out with an article talking about the NFL could resume off-season activities as early as mid-June to late June there for mini camps for players. So this is interesting. Now, what's going to happen here is the holdup in all this is California Governor Gavin Newsom. That's the key hurdle that the NFL can pull off a fully operational mini camp in June. So if he opens it, then they'll get the okay and they can move forward. If not, this could cause a big problem because remember the NFL said until everybody is allowed to come back, nobody can come back when it comes to mini camps and things like that. So, Coach, I ask you this because we don't have a crystal ball in all this, but with everything that is backtracked so far, do you believe that the California Governor Gavin Newsom will allow teams to go back to their facilities?
Here's what I truly believe, and I'm almost certain that I'm right on this. I think Gavin Newsom, should he not elect to let them come back, will have the biggest uprising that he's ever had in California, and the NFL is going to play. Now, if he waits too late and he holds up the NFL, and these dates are important here too to remind you. Now, if you will keep that in mind before I finish here, I really think dates are important here. But if he goes beyond the date that most all other NFL teams feel that they need to get started, you will see NFL teams, I think, reposition themselves in Florida for training camps, and you'll have all types of turmoil in California with the great Governor Newsom out there. They're going to play, and accommodations have been talked about. As we mentioned before, there are all types of options that have been discussed by the NFL. So Newsom's not going to stop that at all. Now, dates are important because they're probably not going to bring any teams to any camp, anywhere earlier than the usual July starting time, which means that June is usually time off. If they allow some degree of contact with players, maybe for a week in June, that might be the only time that they would have players, and it would not be for any padded up practices or anything like that. It'd just be the normal procedure with OTAs, learning, meetings and walkthroughs on the field, that type thing. But other than that, when they get ready to start, they'll have a remedy in place to get everybody ready to go.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's you know what, they're against the gun right now because look, New York was one of of course the biggest hot spot in our country, and they're slowly starting to open back up. He's allowed the pro sports teams to start coming back to their facilities. So the ball's in your court if you're California. And I know we talk about trying to keep politics out of this. I'm not going to get into that, but it's obvious at this point. We'll see what happens. But look, I just think you know what, you're right. I think.
Just look. You have to take a look at what we're talking about here. You've got California, Washington, Illinois. New York has opened up, but and I think New Jersey just did as well.
Yes,
but
New Jersey did.
Anyway, enough said. Illinois, Washington, California.
Yeah, it's obvious at this point. So, with that being said, I think everything's going to happen. We'll see. Crazier things have happened, but I do agree with you. I think the dates are important because teams are wanting to come back maybe mid-June, June 15th to June 27th, there to get mini camps going. And if they're the only ones out there, then that's going to cause quite a stir. So, Coach, moving on here, of course, this is somebody that is, well, you know, depends on how you want to look at him. The owner of the Dolphins right there, Stephen Ross. Now, he said, of course, the NFL will definitely play. Everything that he's heard, that he's talked about, he said they definitely will play. Of course, the question, as everybody has said, is will there be fans? Now, we've seen some other teams. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, of course, that have had some ways to be able to get fans in their stadium. The Dolphins were one of those teams that talked about bringing about 15,000 fans in the stadiums. That way they could follow protocols. Now, remember, down there in Miami is a hot spot here for Florida, but nonetheless, Coach, it's not really that I want to talk about here. It's more along the lines of his saying that, you know, Tua this year could play. He's not opposed to him playing as long as he earns the job. Now, getting out of this article here, you kind of get the feeling of he's making a comment of, okay, well, we're not going to let fans dictate if Tua has to earn that job. He doesn't really care how the team's doing or whatever, but it's more along the lines of if Tua earns that job, then he gets that job. Now, Coach, I have some speculation. We talked about this, I believe, a couple weeks ago here. That was my worry with Tua playing too early, is that the fans, of course, you know, the tank for Tua, they're waiting to see Tua. No offense to Ryan Fitzpatrick. I like Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think he did a great job filling in. Of course, he's not probably obviously going to be the impact player like Tua will be. But, Coach, I'm worried that the Dolphins will play him too early. And with him coming out and saying, well, he has to earn the job, and basically kind of shunning the fan situation here, I mean, I just think, Coach, we need to pump the brakes because, you know what, we've seen fans force players into roles before because the fans are the ones that are, well, they're the ones that show up. They're the ones that support the team. Are you buying this from Stephen Ross?
Well, I think there are many things involved here other than just a statement by Stephen Ross. First, don't accept everything he said about fans not putting pressure on, because I think he's been in that seat before and has relented, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't put much credence in that statement, but I do say, as far as Tua is concerned and playing, we've got people who emphatically say, and I say people, I'm talking about people who don't really know, but are sports commentators, if you want to call them that, but have emphatically stated that he shouldn't play this year. This should be a so-called redshirt year, and start to play next year. Don't buy that. That's not for sale. That's not going to fly. And then there are others that say, well, if he's ready to go, the other extreme is he's ready to go from day one. I think they've got a pretty good situation down there. Now, keep in mind, they're not going to have all of the preseason that is normally associated with a season, and for getting young people ready to play. So that's going to hinder him some. They do have a good situation in that they have Fitzpatrick, and I think he's an ideal guy to help tutor. I think he will do that. But he's an ideal guy to have to start the season and play him, who's going to at least keep you in a lot of ball games. I think maybe win a few, But if Tua comes on the way that I would think that he will in practice and otherwise, then at some point during the season, I think they're probably going to end up playing him. And that's not only from a fan pressure standpoint, but because it's going to be very obvious that it's the right thing to do for the future.
Yeah, I think it's important when you mention Ryan Fitzpatrick that for Dolphins fans, I understand you want to see Tua, but Fitzpatrick has already come out and said, listen, I understand what's going on here. He goes, I'd love to mentor him. I'll give him everything I got. You're talking about, mentoring Tua, of course, but he said, I also want to play. And I think that's an important statement. People kind of take that as, oh, we're going to have problems. No, I think that that's perfect for what the Dolphins have right now, because you're going to have a guy in Ryan Fitzpatrick that is not just going to lay over and say, all right, here you go, it's yours now. He's going to continue to battle until his seat's taken. I think that's important for Tua as well. Yeah. This is a guy that for Tua is going to have to battle for that spot. And that's why I love that mix up there. I love Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I love the way he's gone about it. And I think this is going to end up well. Listen, if it comes down to Week 8, Week 9, Week 10, whatever it may be, and Tua's still not starting, that means he's not ready yet. That's the important part, instead of just saying, all right, you know what, Tua's had a few weeks under his belt, let's get him out there. That's the scary part in all this. So that's where I say use caution. For Dolphins fans out there, I know that you had a great offseason. You had a good draft there. You got Tua. Things are looking up, but this is going to take some years. You don't want to put a guy in a situation that he's not prepared for. So, Coach, talking about another NFL team real quick before we go to break here, the Indianapolis Colts. Now, we both talked about this off air, of course. We talked about it on air plenty as well. But the Colts are they had a sneaky good offseason. I mean, look, they drafted Michael Pittman Jr. They got DeForest Buckner. They went out and got a couple other wide receivers as well. They got some defensive guys. They've really reloaded. And then don't forget, people forget about this, but they got Jonathan Taylor at running back, the Wisconsin running back, which is, I think he's just going to be an absolute stud. I mean, this is a guy that had over 6,000 yards in 3 years at Wisconsin. So I think he's so durable. He's going to be really good for him. And don't forget that offensive line is probably the best in NFL. So, Coach, talking about that, wasn't about the draft, wasn't about some of these other guys. He talked about, Frank Reich talked about Paris Campbell. This is a guy that we've both talked about. You mentioned him to start off with, Coach. This guy's the real deal, of course, coming out of Ohio State, a absolute speedster. He to give people an idea, I believe I'm not saying he's on that level yet because we don't know, but more of a Tyreek Hill type player when it comes to just elite speed. I mean, Olympic track speed there. But he talked about he's super pumped, and he believes his upside is unbelievable, especially with the team that they've built. He is going to stand out. So, Coach, you know what? I say this just to say, there you go. You've been saying this for a long time. But my question to you is, how good? I mean, when you look at the ceiling for this Colts team, could this be a team that, in all reality, could compete for a Super Bowl?
Yes. I've said this all along. In fact, when we were picking dark horses the other day, nobody, you're right. They've been almost in the weeds putting this football team together this year. But that's the way you want it. And I really think that nobody has really mentioned them as being a favorite by any stretch. But I think they're right in there with the big boys. Anybody, I don't care who it is. You hit some of the highlights there, but people don't understand what an upgrade to a good football team, what an upgrade they had. I don't care how you cut it. Phillip Rivers is a huge upgrade at quarterback with his knowledge and experience. And then you put him behind the best offensive line maybe in football with a receiving core now that was a little shy last year because Paris Campbell was injured. They didn't play. But you got the draft choices that they got, and then Paris Campbell to boot coming back this year, who will probably be the fastest guy in the National Football League. They're not going to be able to sit back there and double team, especially when they've got a couple of tight ends that aren't too bad either. And I think they got the best running back in the draft by far, Jonathan Taylor, who I think is going to be an outstanding NFL player. So defense, they helped themselves defensively, certainly, and they were coming on. They played pretty good defensively. the coaches, keep in mind the coaches worked with Philip Rivers out in San Diego, both Frank Reich and the offensive coordinator. So this is something that's coming together. I think it's going to be it could be something special this year. So keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I agree. As much as I've said this before, much as I hate to say it for the Titans, I'm a big-time Titans fan. Finally had a little bit of our time in the sun. But, the Colts this year, what they've been able to do is unbelievable. And it's funny because nobody talks about the Colts right now. And a lot of people, when they do, they say, yeah, right, well, Phillip Rivers, I'm supposed to believe in this guy. Well, I'm telling you right now, the same people are the same people that are saying, well, Tom Brady's too old. You put guys on teams that they're going to play rejuvenated, like they're a little bit younger now because of the talent. Remember the talent around Phillip Rivers now, and for the Colts, he doesn't have to be a superstar. And Tom Brady, the weapons he has now, get out of here. If you're not believing in Tom Brady, you believe that he's too old?
Yeah, you know what we're going to do later, which I think is going to be interesting for our fans. The latest odds that just came out on who might be, what teams might have the best chance to get in the playoffs, go to the Super Bowl, I think is what they're based on. And we're going to have some fun going over some of those because I really think that's going to be turned upside down. But we're going to go over it here in just a few minutes. And keep in mind also, one other thing on the Colts I did not mention, which is a huge factor. It's just like with Brady with Tampa. Because Rivers, I think, is going to limit any turnovers and is going to be able to keep that offense on the field a little more than they're used to. It's going to make them all better, both offensively and defensively will help their defensive football team, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. And, Coach, you're right. Listen, when we come back from break, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl odds here and how things could be turned upside down. And if you don't believe it, well, we'll tell you why when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Just felt there's a huge need in Pensacola to bring foot and ankle services, specifically orthopedic foot and ankle services, to this area. There's so much growth in Pensacola. I wanted a freestanding orthopedic foot and ankle center to do this, and as far as I can tell, this is the only one really in the country that's freestanding. Most orthopedic surgeons are part of a multi-specialty group. So we offer on-site x-rays, on-site CT scan, and on-site MRI. They can come to one place.
Visit NielsenOrthopedics.com to reserve your appointment today.
JP here. Everyone here at ESPN Pensacola wants to send a shout out to our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. We know it's tough, but we appreciate the work you put day in and day out. We also want to thank our essential workers out there for helping all of us continue to live our lives as normal as possible in this time. For our community, keep rocking it. We are going to get through this. Remember, we were named the #1 strong town in America. That wasn't by accident. We have seen so many people step up and do their part, and we thank all those people for their efforts. We will be stronger for this, and together, we will beat COVID-19.
There's only one name in town when it comes to afternoon local sports talk. The Sports Drive with Chad Brilliante.
Some athletes don't want to be given... nobody does. Now, look, when you play with your pops as he gets older, one of the most embarrassing things, my daughter's 3, I just slam it right in her face right at the play school hoop. Like right there, like I'm Zion Williamson.
The games, the players, the fans. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You can watch Coach K talk football live right now on our YouTube channel at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Tuesday afternoon. Hope everybody had a great Memorial Day. We're here talking some football with you now. Coach, of course, we're going to get into this here. Super Bowl odds here. This is interesting just because for people, listen, I'm not much of a bettor myself. I know that, with the casinos around, there's a lot of people here that, friends of mine that have said they listen. And look, we've had Danny Sheridan on the show plenty of times as well. But this is interesting enough just because sometimes something that seems too good to be true is. And, Coach, when we look at this, now I've got the odds here, of course, from Vegas Insiders. So this is coming from Caesars and things like that. The Kansas City Chiefs are at the top to win the Super Bowl again. Now, I'll ask you this. Is that the easiest team to pick right now? And I will say this as well. Should we be cautious in picking Kansas City again?
I think you have to be cautious, to be honest with you, in picking anybody right now. But I have a little caution there, yeah, because I think people are going to do a good job of preparing for Kansas City. And if you noticed through the draft and some of the trades and off-season moves that certain teams have made, it's to counteract that speed that Kansas City has, to match speed with speed in some cases. So it's not going to be as easy, that's for sure. It's going to be more difficult, but you still got to give them a good shot with all that speed. I just don't know if they have enough defensively, JP, to repeat and have the defense necessary to carry them through some ball games. You really need a defense that's going to win a couple ball games for you during the year to be able to make that long run, and I'm not sure they have it.
Yeah, I agree. That's the question mark I have. Is we know how good Patrick Mahomes is, but how long can that sustain? And you know what? That division, we saw the Denver Broncos go out and get some speed on the offensive side as well. We saw teams that, like the New England Patriots, that went out and got speed on defense in order to counteract that kind of speed that they have there. So going to be very interesting for the Chiefs. And I think, it's different. When a team like that has not won a championship and now they have won, how is this going to react? How is this going to react? How are players going to react? How is Patrick Mahomes? Because, everybody knew he was a star. Everybody liked him. He was a great kid. He is a great kid. But now the pressure's on. Now that everybody knows you have a target on your back, how is that going to change your game? How are you going to come out and play? So I think it's important to see how the Chiefs are going to react to this. Coach, the second team here, 7-1 odds, the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I know where you feel about this, but this is a team that, Coach, I think I agree with you. Obviously, we've talked about this plenty, but the Ravens, that's a team that I will say, if you want to take them as a Super Bowl champ, I would hold on to that money right now because I think this is going to be a little bit different of the year, and I personally don't think that they're going to win their division this year.
Well, I think you're probably right. I would definitely not pick them to be in the top 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know. I don't think they're up there. But and you're right about the difficulty that Kansas City, like any team, is going to have trying to repeat. It's very difficult to try to repeat winning a Super Bowl, getting there, nonetheless winning it. But Baltimore, no, I don't see that one, JP. I firmly believe, and I may be totally wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll admit it when it happens, and I'll face it full on. But I just don't believe that you can get to the Super Bowl and win it with a single-wing tailback playing quarterback. Just don't think it can happen. Now they're good defensively. They're an outstanding football team. I think they've got a good football team all the way around. But I don't think they are going to be able to go that route, go through all the games necessary, the trials and the tribulations, and go win it without a true NFL quarterback.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I use extreme caution here because remember the Steelers. Now, the Steelers were on the cusp of making the playoffs, and the question comes down to if Big Ben can stay healthy. How good that team is defensively, you give them some help on the offensive side, bring Big Ben back. We know that Big Ben has won a ton of games there. That's where I think that this gets interesting. Not only that, but you add the fact of the book is out. Look, everybody knows about the Baltimore Ravens now. They know about that style, and how is that going to return this year? How are teams going to game plan for that? And, Coach, you've talked about it. For what they run, it's something you can get away with for just a little bit, but eventually these teams are going to figure it out. And I go back to as early as last year in the playoffs, not to beat my own drum here, but for the Tennessee Titans, you watch the way that they played it. They said, okay, Lamar, go ahead and get your passing yards. And he threw the ball for over 500 yards. When you look at the stat book, you go, wow, that's an amazing game. But it was whenever they got inside the red zone and they shrunk the field on him, he could not get it done. And I'm not saying it's all Lamar Jackson in here, but what I'm saying is they found a way and said, you know what, we can't stop him this way. Let's let him get inside the 20, and then let's find out if he can truly beat us. And that's where Tennessee came out, and they won the football game, was they shrunk the field on them. We've seen teams do that before, and I think that's going to be interesting moving forward just because it was a fantastic game plan. And from the outside looking in, until I realized what was going on, I was like, we're getting tore up. I mean, they're running all over us here. If they can figure this out, we're in trouble, and they never really could. So that's what you're talking about, Coach, is, look, this is a single-wing tailback. Look, he can throw the football a little bit, but he's not an NFL-style quarterback, so it's going to be interesting to see what the Ravens do. Coach,
people catch up, too. You're right, especially in the off-season. People are going to catch up. Remember what Tennessee did? Hey, Cleveland went into Baltimore and almost shut them out last year.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. It's important to remember some of the games that they struggled with last year, and that was one of them. I mean, remember Cleveland. Cleveland's got another good squad. They had a great offseason, bringing in Austin Hooper, drafting some guys, getting Jack Conklin, of course, in the offensive line to shore up some things. They have some weapons over there. They just have to put it together. We'll see what happens. And that goes back to the division. That's why I said I struggle. I'm not going to come out right and say the Ravens are even going to win their division. That's a really tough division. So we'll see. But, Coach, the third team on this list, 10-1 odds. This is a team that personally I like a lot. I think this is a team that almost got there or was there last year, so close, being up 10 points in the fourth quarter, couldn't figure it out to get it done. The San Francisco 49ers. Coach, when you look at this team, the way they drafted, the way that they played, they got young guys, they got the veterans where they need them. Jimmy G, I'm a believer in Jimmy G. I think he can get it done, and I think, you know what, this could be the year for the 49ers, being so close last year. Coach, this is actually who I would pick as my Super Bowl favorite.
I have to agree with you. I like San Francisco, and I think they've got, when you look at all of the things necessary to win or to get to a Super Bowl, get into the playoffs, get to a Super Bowl, whatever your end goal is, and there are certain things that you have to have, and you can just list them and go down and check them off, and it's not that difficult to do. But you've got to have a quarterback. You've got to have a pass rush. You've got to have an offensive line that gives you a chance to keep your quarterback upright and can give you a chance to run with the football. And defensively, you're going to have to make some big plays when it counts, and you're going to have to stop the run. They have all those things. Plus, they do have a good running game, and the intangibles that they have, JP, is winning breeds winning, and they now have momentum and confidence and the know-how, what it takes to get there, that gives them an advantage over other people. So I agree with you. I like San Francisco. Would not be surprised if they're not the Super Bowl winners this year.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting just because they seem to have learned in this offseason already. And I'm not a Richard Sherman fan, but him coming out, I thought it was very important, him coming out and saying, listen, if you want to blame somebody, blame this defense. Blame me. I didn't play like a Pro Bowler like I should have. If I would have, we'd have won the Super Bowl. I think it's important. And you see the confidence there. They know they were so close, and this team is coming back, and they're going to be stronger. And, look, they got some more wide receiver help. I thought Emmanuel Sanders wasn't really working out there. He wasn't the guy that they needed. They got some more help. It's going to be really fun to watch this 49ers squad. But, Coach, moving on here to 4 and 5. Now, both of these teams, we've talked about them a little bit maybe. I would say so. 13-1 odds here. Interesting enough, they're in the same division, the New Orleans Saints and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, Coach, we've talked about it ad nauseum here. When you talk about the Saints, the help they were able to get, they got Emmanuel Sanders over there to help a guy like Michael Thomas. We know that defensively they filled in some holes. They re-signed a bunch of guys. Drew Brees is still the quarterback, so as Drew Brees is still back there throwing the football around, I'm going to give them a dang sure shot at winning it in that division. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a little bit different squad this year. Now Tom Brady's there. Now those weapons, listen, guys are buying in. Hearing Shaq Barrett talk about today, he said, you know what, when we got Brady, it changed our entire mindset. And, Coach, that's exactly what I expect out of this Tampa Bay team that is really talented. But, it's so hard to play behind a guy like Jameis Winston when you're throwing, interceptions, you're fumbling the football. I believe it was 37 turnovers there for him. That's insane. That puts the defense in a bad situation. But, Coach, my question here, with the New Orleans Saints and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who comes out on top?
Well, it's going to be one of the most interesting races in football, period, this year. In that division between Tampa Bay and New Orleans, both are legitimate contenders to go to the Super Bowl. There's no question in my mind about that. And add in Atlanta, and you really got you've got a huge quagmire here at the top of that division. But let's look at just a little breakdown here. If you, we just said what two of the things that you need right off the bat. You need a quarterback and you need a pass rush, right? Tampa Bay just got Tom Brady, best quarterback in football, and they had the sack leader last year, 19.5 sacks. They have a defense that was coming on. They got the best offensive lineman in the draft. They've got other talent offensively that Brady's never had that much assembled talent. Now he's going to need that. He's going to need that little water bug in there too, because he likes to, in addition to the big, strong, fast receivers, which is going to be a big plus for him. He likes that water bug, like he's had in the past with Welker and Edelman. So anyway, I think Tampa's got a real shot at it. I am not going to be surprised at any success they have. Not going to surprise me at all. And of course, the Saints. Listen, Drew Brees. Anytime you have Drew Brees in the ball game, you've got a shot to win it. I don't care who you're playing against. So those are two interesting teams. Well, in contention for Super Bowl, no question about it.
Yeah, I agree. And Coach, when you look at the next two teams here, of course, the Dallas Cowboys 18-1 odds, the Philadelphia Eagles 20-1 odds. And this is interesting because, again, when you talk about the New Orleans Saints and Tampa Bay, you talk about the Cowboys and the Eagles here in the same division. And this is the division that was atrocious last year that, you know what, it was you just look, it was embarrassing to look at how these teams performed. Now, for the Eagles, when you look at what they had going on, they had a ton of injuries. I think the Eagles, Coach, I will tell people to be skeptical and watch out, because this Eagles team, this defense is really good. Now, they're back. They were good last year, but it was the offensive side of Carson Wentz having no one to throw to. You're talking about Greg Ward Jr., who was a former college quarterback out there at wide receiver. They're healthy so far this year. We'll see what happens. But, Coach, this Eagles team, I tell you what, as good as the Cowboys are this year. I mean, with the draft that they had, getting CeeDee Lamb, regardless, I will go ahead and say this, take it however you want it. I don't care who their quarterback is, if it's Andy Dalton or Dak Prescott. This team is loaded. But, Coach, can the Eagles overcome the Cowboys this year with everything that they've done so far?
Yes, they can. And when you look at the situation, Dallas has a huge turnover in the coaching. All the coaches are changes or turnovers there. You've got a new system going in. They've actually got a quarterback there that they don't believe is their franchise quarterback, but they're having to play the cards they're dealt, and I think they're just playing the game so that they don't have to give him a long-term contract. And worst case scenario, or best case scenario for them would be to have him play on the franchise ticket, franchise tag. I like Philadelphia. To be honest with you, I like Philadelphia just a tick better than Dallas. I think they're both good football teams. But this Philadelphia football team is extremely physical, both offensively and defensively. They play a brand of football that is akin to football back in the 40s and 50s, really. They're a tough, hard-nosed group. They're well coached. I give them a lot of credit there. And they've got momentum. For them to hang in there and do what they did last year, let me tell you, players know quite a bit about what's going on and how they ended up. They've got momentum going on their side. So, and Dallas is still, they've still got to be wondering if they're going to be able to get it together, because they haven't been able to. So I like Philadelphia just a tick better.
Yeah, you know what? And I do too, Coach, because I think people forget about the running back situation in Philadelphia. Jordan Howard's gone now to Miami. This kid, Miles Sanders, if you haven't heard of Miles Sanders, look out, because this guy is dynamic. I mean, Miles Sanders can do it all. He can run the football, he can catch the football, and he has a great attitude, great player. This is a guy that is a secret weapon for them. And I think it kind of got under the radar with the season they had last year. And don't forget, they drafted TCU's own Jalen Reagor right there. This guy can fly. So I think this will open up that offense a little bit more. And you're right. You know what? Philadelphia plays a brand of football, a physical brand of football that reminds you of the old days. And it's exciting to watch. And for Dallas, you hit the nail on the head again, Coach. They don't even know who their quarterback's going to be. There's a lot of stuff swirling around right now. And I'm not just talking about from Jerry Jones and them. I'm talking about from the players' perspective as well. A lot of drama going on, as it seems always in Dallas. But, Coach, before we go to break, the New England Patriots are a 22-1 odds to win the Super Bowl. Now, my question is not as much as can we see this team going back to the Super Bowl as should people count out this team just overall this year before the season even gets started?
No, absolutely not. In fact, everybody's jumped on the Buffalo Bill wagon, and they're sitting there with a quarterback that can't hit the broad side of a barn consistently. And so I don't know. I don't know how they're going to overtake New England, because you can bet Belichick is going to defensively put maximum pressure on him to be accurate, and that may not be able to happen. So I like New England to probably win that division again, and so that would put them in the playoffs. I don't think they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender right now, but I do see them in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a team you cannot sleep on until they're dethroned there. When you talk about the success they've had for so long, making the playoffs, winning championships, I'm not going to bet against Bill either. I think they've had a very quiet off season for people that said they should have done this, they should have done that. I'm going to trust Bill Belichick on this. And just interesting for people that talk about the Buffalo Bills, they're 28-1 odds right now, while the Patriots are 22-1. So maybe Vegas knows something that we're talking about here a little bit, Coach. I think Vegas isn't counting out Bill Belichick either. So, listen, we got to go to a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about the XFL a little bit. And you know what? Some things, 5 reasons why we think they're going to return in 2021. Some interesting stuff here when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley. That was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio, take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hey, this is Chad Brillante from the Afternoon Sports Drive, and you're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Tuesday afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you had a great Memorial Day as well. We're talking some football with you, and we're talking some XFL here. Now, Coach, this is the XFL. We talked about this, of course, before when they were starting up. We had the XFL show, or Inside the XFL, until things happen with COVID-19. And getting into this, of course, Athlon came out with a great article on 5 reasons why the XFL will return in 2021. And it talks about a lot what we've talked about as well. Now, it's important for people to understand that the XFL had, no choice but to cancel the season with everything going on, like much other sports. It's just, that goes without saying. But some important facts here. When you look at the XFL and why there's a lot of belief. Now, Vince McMahon has been rumored to buy the XFL out of bankruptcy. Typical Vince McMahon thing to do there. A lot of things he's got going on, though, from Oliver Luck and issues that are going on around that with other coaches as well. But, look, ticket sales were strong. Look, they averaged almost 20,000 tickets each game. When you look at teams like, the St. Louis Battlehawks, remember they used to have the St. Louis Rams there? This team averaged over 30,000 fans. So it's interesting when you look at this. There was interest at every market, no matter where you were at. And a lot of these teams played at smaller venues like soccer stadiums, so it worked out perfectly when you're talking about everything and how it looked on TV. Television viewership. Look, Coach, in week 1 attracted over 3 million. Week 2 saw a little over 2 million. And then you saw that continuously it was between 1 to 2 million people viewing each and every week. Now, for people saying, well, the NFL gets this and college football gets that, remember this is a spring league, the XFL. This is not supposed to compete with those guys. So I will say that, television viewership it speaks for itself. And then the other thing that people kind of forget about, the XFL's strong social media presence. Listen, you have to have a social media presence when you're talking about today's society. So, the XFL had over almost 500,000 Twitter followers, over 200,000 Facebook likes, over 600,000 Instagram followers, had almost 57,000 YouTube subscribers. I mean, this is and the reason I say this is because they are known. I mean, people see that. The social media is the easiest way to reach a lot of people when everybody's on the go now. And then, Coach, the biggest thing here, which I love and I agree with, I believe you will too, the league will have no problem restocking their talent pool. The whole point is to be a compliment to the league. Some of these guys were on practice squads. They wanted an opportunity to showcase their talent. Some of these guys coming out of college weren't drafted at all and just wanted an opportunity. And you saw a lot of guys like P.J. Walker, Jordan Teamu, guys like that, quarterbacks, that was signed with NFL teams this year, not to mention all the other position players that were signed. So, Coach, saying this, do you believe the XFL will return and then it will be profitable?
Well, we've always said there is a market, no question, there's a market for spring football. And this goes back many, many years. That market's been proven. The only downfall has been financially. Now, this year, they had that solved, and this is rather critical, I think. To answer your question directly, yes, it'll be back. You have to keep this in mind. I think McMahon did I'm sure that he bankrupted the league so he can avoid some of the payments that he had coming up. One of them, the money that was owed Oliver Luck. He paid a lot of money. In fact, I had heard, I don't want to repeat it now, but I had heard quite an exorbitant amount in the millions to get Oliver Luck. And I wouldn't doubt that because of Oliver Luck's background, and he had to leave a very good job as the athletic director at West Virginia. And he had other expenses, JP, that he avoided by bankrupting the league. Now, obviously, he can make some type arrangement legally to do it again and vacate that the responsibility the financial responsibility that he had. So that doesn't look good. And there are a lot of people that are going to remember that. So I think it's going to be a little harder on him than it would be somebody else. But I will say this. He had the money behind it, and it was going exceptionally well for them. You're right. They were right there, and all they had to do was keep it going.
Yeah, I think it's important is they had success. But that's the other part that I was talking about. When you talk about the situations with Oliver Luck and guys, it's going to be harder because Oliver Luck was a guy that was the backbone. That was the guy you could trust to be able to continue to build this brand and make sure that this league had the bones it needed to move forward and grow. So that's going to be a big issue, going to be interesting to see how all that plays out. But, Coach, listen, we're up against our last break here. When we come back, some new norms in college football. Clemson announces football players can return to voluntary on-campus activities June 8th. That was just released. And we'll talk about what Iowa State's plan and it may be the new norm in college football, at least for this year. All that and more when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, Highway 29 in Car City.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. On this Tuesday afternoon, final segment of the show. Hope you're doing well. We're talking some football with you. Now, Coach, I mentioned Iowa State. Now, we talked about a lot of teams implementing fans here. Now, Iowa State Stadium, Jack Trice Stadium, holds about 61,000 people. And so far, they've sold 22,000 season tickets. So the reason I bring this up is because, listen, they plan to go to half capacity this fall and maybe even more if, well, things get a little more lenient. But, Coach, when you look at this, the reason I bring this up is, of course, they have 8,000 more tickets they're trying to sell here. I don't think they'll have a problem with that, with everything going on. But could this be the new norm, at least, well, for the present until, I guess, things change a little bit? Half capacity, a quarter capacity, is that going to be the new norm in college football?
Yeah, they're going to have to find some way, I think, to start with, and it's going to be interesting to see how they start the season. It runs the gamut from no spectators to a full house. I don't think it'll be a full house, at least in most of them. They'll start with a certain percentage where they can block off seats, and whether it's, I think Ohio State talked about 20,000 in their 100,000 seat stadium, up to from there, then graduating up to half, and so on. So I think it's going to start like that. You're going to have maybe a third or so to start with, and they'll have it so that the big logistical problem is going to be exits, entry and exit, and restrooms and concession, all that.
Hey, Coach, talking about college football, on the NFL side, I know you have, of course, a lot of close friends, a lot of sources in there. Have you heard anything different about possibility of fans there on the NFL side of things? And not only that, though, but just how the NFL's handling things kind of on the inside moving forward.
Well, I think suffice it to say that the NFL is going to play, and they have looked at any number of options. My guess is, based on the latest I've heard, that they'll start on time, and I think it's very likely they'll start with no fans in the stands. It's going to be easier for the NFL to get going than it will be college. We've mentioned this before. There are a number of reasons, and one of them financially. It's very, very difficult for colleges to do without that ticket revenue. NFL, less percentage of revenue on ticket sales, more on TV. So they can better afford to do it. But I think it's going to happen, and I will know more in the next 2 weeks, quite a bit more. And as I know it, I will let our audience know. In fact, we should know quite a bit more in the next 2 weeks.
Sounds good, Coach. Well, you know what? It's going to be interesting to see how that's all going to play out. But, that sound means it's time for us to go. Got a lot to get to, but we'll get to it tomorrow. But it's been a pleasure, Coach.
You bet. Look forward to it.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Coach. We appreciate our listeners. Remember, Paul Feinbaum will join us on Thursday as well. You're not going to want to miss that. But we'll be back tomorrow, same time, talking some football with you right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
4 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, Sports Call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEVY, Milton, Pensacola.
First Take Your Take on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, and ESPN News. I'm Jason Fitz. Start the hour as we